Ringling Brothers may not be around anymore, but that don't mean you can't find a clown. This is Funny Like a Clown podcast. I'm your host, Dennis Wirth. March 27th, 2022. This is episode 142. Continuing our review of the late night comedy circuit, the modern day. Okay, we already did like the olden days with the Jay Leno's and the David Lettermans and the Johnny Carsons and that big war they went through. Well, there was a new war brewing with the Conan O'Briens and the Jimmy Fallons of the world. Okay, and that's who we're going to be reviewing tonight, man. Mr. Jimmy Fallon. Last week we did Jimmy Kimmel, who I think is the elder statesman, late night guy now with Conan O'Brien's retirement. But Jimmy Fallon, man, hey, there's a lot of late night shows, but there's only one coveted late night show because it's like, there's a lot of awards show, but the Oscars is on a level of its own. Okay. Well, you got the Grammys and everything and everybody. No. There's the Oscars. That's the one, everybody. That's the top of the bill. Well, hey, the Late Show. Well, that's the top of the list, and this guy got it. So let's get into his career. As always, today's episode is brought to you by G Vegas buffalo sauce for the spicy, sweet, savory taste. At game time, there's only one, and I'm talking one. G Vegas, available at www.gvegas.webs.com. And I got to tell you, I'm losing weight and I'm feeling great. But if there's one thing I miss, it's my buffalo macaroni and cheese, and I'm foaming at the mouth for one. But not gonna break my diet. I don't know. Maybe if I lose 50 pounds, I could cheat and have one. But until then, I guess I got to hold off on my macaroni and cheese. But what else? Maybe in moderation, I guess. Right now, moderation gets you in trouble. All right, Jimmy Fallon. Let's talk about him here. Let's see. Cast member of Saturday Night Live, host of Late Night with Jimmy Fallon, then the Big Mamba, the Tonight Show. He ended up getting that one. And everybody wanted it, man. Only one guy could get it. He was the guy, Jimmy Fallon. Let's see, moved to L.A. At 21 to pursue comedy, man. That's a gutsy move at 21 years old, man. Drop what you're doing and move to LA and pursue comedy. Could we all have the guts to do that? Leave your family behind, leave a secure job, whatever, man. Just know that's what you want to do at that age, man. That's a calling right there. I was later on in my years. I did. I knew from a young age I always loved. I wanted to do comedy. I didn't know how to get started, and my dad was a whack job. Not like he'd support what I wanted to do. He wanted me to do what he wanted to do. But hey, in my later years, I finally got to do it. And I've had the time of my life. It's been a blast, man. Hope you guys having a blast with me because, hey, we're learning, we're laughing. And what else can you do in comedy? Let's see. Saturday Night Live is on there from 1998 to 2004. I guess is the most popular, but he co-hosted the Weekend Update, which that's like one of the most coveted slots on Saturday Night Live is the Weekend Update. I remember what's his name? Dennis Miller. He just made it a legendary thing. Norm Macdonald. I mean, just all the big names. That was the coveted spot they wanted. He got to do it. He left to pursue movies. He did the movie Taxi in 2004 and Fever Pitch in 2005. Then he returned to TV and Late Night with Jimmy Fallon for NBC in 2009. And then obviously he was presented as the sixth permanent host of the Tonight Show in 2014. And there's only been 6 people in the world of all time that have held the title of being the host of the Tonight Show. I mean, that's putting you in an elite category, beyond words. I mean, there's been plenty of late night TV shows. Some make it, some don't. Even Jimmy Kimmel, as great as he is, he don't have the audience of a Tonight Show or the David Letterman show. He's got his audience, but it's a smaller one. But man, the Tonight Show with man, wow, only 6 people to be able to get that slot. That's something. I remember what Chevy Chase. He had a talk show for a little while. It was a flop. Joan Rivers, she tried hers. Well, didn't do too good. I mean, there's plenty of comics who've tried to have their own talk show and just didn't work out. Worked out for this guy, man. I noticed I always go with the nice guy. Well, I guess yeah, they're all nice guys, but I mean the team players. I guess they go with. I guess you'd call them. I don't know. They made a movie. I forget the name now, but the Late Night Comedy Wars. It was a hell of a movie, man. It really was. Let's see. thing you didn't know about Jolly Fallon, probably, he was raised Roman Catholic, and he considered being a priest after his influence as an altar boy. And, you know, but he spent many nights listening to the Dr. Demento program on radio, which I guess also inspired him. Okay. And he had to make a choice, and he chose his love of comedy and music over being a priest. And Dr. Demento, yeah, that was the big. That's where Weird Al Yankovic he got his start. Sending a tape into Dr. Demento. It was this big underground show at the time where local talent could get on and show what you got. He got you in the mix. I guess as a kid he got obsessed with Saturday Night Live. He was just totally obsessed with watching the show. But he came from a religious family, so his parents taped it for him, and they'd only allow him to see the clean parts. They'd edit out, I guess his parents were strict. They edited out the parts they didn't think he should see. And I guess it was his lifelong dream was to perform on there let's see. At high school, he was described as a well-mannered class clown. So he wasn't the. See, I was the type of class clown in school where I'd bust a bunch of jokes and get thrown out of class, but he was well-mannered. Like he'd play, fun with the class and fun with the teacher, and he wouldn't get thrown out for his antics. But yeah, I got thrown out. I got thrown out of a few classes. Let's see. He won a young comedian contest in school with his imitation of Pee Wee Herman. So I guess, finding his calling at a young age right there. Let's see. During, I remember in high school, I wouldn't have the guts to do comedy. It was kind of like you're so self-conscious of, what other people are going to think of you. In my later years, you don't care what people think of you anymore. But at that time when you're trying to fit in and be accepted, at that age, it's a strange time in your life. So, to find that calling that early, I guess you got to have supportive parents. My mother was very supportive, and my father, not so much. He was a nut job. Hey, a lot of people, a lot of good comics come from rough childhood. You gotta harness that anger and laugh about it. That's how you get through things in life. Let's see. During college, he performed comedy on the weekends. He actually took a bus from Fort Hamilton to Times Square to perform at the legendary Caroline's Comedy Club. And I guess he left college to pursue comedy. I guess, he was having more fun taking the train into Carolines and doing comedy than he was having fun at the actual college doing his thing. So after a while there in 1995, he made another move. He decided to move to LA and pursue comedy full time. Let's see. At age 21, he secured a manager, which everybody thinks if you go out there to LA, you can just get a manager like that. It's like, no. Not anybody's going to manage you. Okay. It's like, they got to believe in you. You got to believe in them. If you get picked up by a manager, that's a big thing. It ain't like you just go in and pay somebody to be your manager or whatever, that you really, you got to have something going on before, this guy had things going on, obviously. Let's see. He performed at the Improv out there, which I guess was the big competitor of the legendary Comedy Store back then. I believe it ended up burning down, but all he got was $7.50 a set, which even back then wasn't much money. They say back then that was a lot of money. No, even back then, $7.50 wasn't shit. Okay, he's not making a lot of money, but he's doing what he loves to do. Money ain't everything in life. Let's see. I don't want to mispronounce this. Let's see. He joined classes with the I guess I'm gonna with the Guardians comedy group, I think maybe. Anyway, it was some legendary comedy group out there where they were famous for improv. Okay, where they had they had a lot of groups famous for comedy. These guys they were famous for improv. I know I've mentioned it on previous podcasts about this group here, and I can't remember the name for the life of me. It'll come to me once I get off the freaking air. That's how things happen. But anyway, man, he was part of this group. Boy, I'm fucking babbling here for a podcast, huh? Let's see. He had a semi-mild film career that he started while he was doing comedy. 1997, he was in Father's Day. He only had one line and ended up getting cut. So I mean, he was in the movie, he probably got paid, but he never made it to the thing. And one of my heroes, Carl LeBove, is Sam Kinnison's opener. I know he was in Ace Ventura's first Pet Detective, and where he was at a bowling alley. He was like a cowboy, and he talked to him. They ended up cutting this scene out, and it was like that movie went on to be so big, and I can't imagine being in like a movie like Father's Day. You ever heard of it? I mean, no, unless you watched it at the time, it was semi. But I mean, Ace Ventura, this huge comedy movie. I can't imagine just getting the part in there and having your scene cut and watching the movie go on to be something big and knowing you were in it, but your scene was cut. So that's always a tough thing. He appeared briefly on Spin City, the old TV show. He was selling photographs. So nothing major, but I mean, at least he's getting his face out there a little bit. Let's see, Adash. He had a friend I know. He was in I think he was in a big movie, and it's like all you saw was his ear or something in a big crowd. He's like, "That's my ear. I'm in a famous movie, man. That's my ear." Like, your ear got in a movie, not you. Big deal, man. I mean, I'd rather do a low budget money, actually do some freaking acting than have my ear get into a big fucking movie. That's too funny in itself. Anyway, auditioned in 1997 for Saturday Night Live, and they turned him down. Which I mean, when you're a kid and this is the show you love and it's your dream to be on Saturday Night Live, I can't imagine getting an audition and being turned down. That had to be a crushing blow. But let's see. He cast for a pilot with the WB, which included a clause in his contract where if he ever did get the opportunity to join Saturday Night Live, he'd be released. So this was a smart move. This is a lifelong dream. It's like the WB wanted him for a TV show. He's like, I'll do your TV show, but if I get the opportunity to fulfill my dream, you got to let me out of the contract. And surprisingly, I mean, for a no-name comic, they agreed to it. And that's like in sports. I know a lot of these coaches, it's like they get the opportunity to, coach other sports team, but then that like dream job becomes available, but they can't take it because they're locked into a contract. I remember it was a Pierce Brosnan. I remember he was on Remington Steel, and they wanted him to do the James Bond movie, and he couldn't get out of his contract for Remington Steel, and he was like desperate to get out of it, but they wouldn't let him out of it to go play James Bond. And luckily, a few years later, they still wanted him, and they pulled him in. But man, that couldn't have been easy for him. When your dream job's available and you can't go do it, that's got to be tough. Let's see. At age 23, he landed a second edition for Saturday Night Live, which I guess he was told by others that Lauren Michaels never laughed at his skits. Lauren Michael, the godfather of Saturday Night Live, he's the guy who runs the show, and I guess he never really laughed at anything he did. But this time he went in there and he decided to do some celebrity impressions. He did of Seinfeld, Chris Rock, Bill Cosby, Adam Sandler, and finally he got Lauren Michaels to laugh. Okay, he was finally laughing at what he was doing with the impressions. I guess he was told, most people go on Saturday Night Live and, they got to start out like an internship or whatever. And then, you lead into the bigger things that happen once you figure out what's going on. But they said he was so good in that interview, he could have performed that night. He was ready. He didn't need anybody to get him ready. He said after the interview and him nailing it, 3 weeks passed and there was no word, went in and nailed the interview and nobody's giving me a call. What the hell? Finally, he was asked to meet with Lauren Michael at Paramount, and he told him, "Hey, you got it. You're on Saturday Night Live." And he said, like the whole thing turned into slow motion. It was one of those moments he couldn't even believe it was happening. Your lifelong dreams happen, and everything happens in slow motion. And I guess the last thing, he told Lauren Michael on his way out, "I'm going to make you proud." And hey, when you go on to host the Tonight Show, he made Lauren Michael proud. Yeah, I didn't make a fool out of you for choosing me. I went on and did good stuff. 1998 made his debut on Saturday Night Live. He was an instant hit with his impressions. Drew mostly a female audience through 3 years on Saturday Night Live. Now, the thing about Saturday Night Live, it may be your dream, it may be your lifelong goal, but I mean, everybody who gets on there, all the big comics, they use that as a stepping stone, okay, to get to the next level. I mean, no matter who you are. You use it as stepping stone, go make movies. Okay. Every gay comic, what do you want? You want that killer hit freaking movie out there. I got one. It's called The World Needs His New Superhero. That was my claim to fame in the comedy world right there. Uh, who was it? Rodney Dangerfield as Caddyshack. John Belushi as Animal House. I got The World Needs a New Superhero. Well, Jimmy Fallon, he wanted to go on and make the great big movie. As much as he liked Saturday Night Live, as much as that was his dream, you got to go to the next level. Movies are at. After 3 years, he was pursued, to do other stuff, but he was persuaded to do another 3 years, which is a 6-year run on Saturday Night Live. That's a long one, man. They persuaded him to do it by giving him the weekend update, as we mentioned. That was the coveted spot. If you get the weekend update, that's the primo spot to be when you're on Saturday Night Live. So that was how they talked him into doing another 3 years. Finally, he parlayed the success on Saturday Night Live. What did he hosted the 2001 MTV Music Awards, the 2002 MTV Music and Video Awards. He released a debut comedy album called The Bathroom Wall. And I remember, so many years ago, there used to be a big thing, the graffiti on a bathroom wall, and somebody went and took pictures of it and made a big, like, what are people thinking? And did it big. It was an interesting thing that I read, actually, like, what do people write on a bathroom wall when nobody's watching them, and some of the graffiti is interesting in itself. It was nominated for a Grammy, so man, there's a hit debut comedy album right there. If you're in with the biggest of the biggest, nominated for a Grammy. Let's see. He actually he modeled for Calvin Klein. There's one. If you didn't know something about Jimmy Fallon, there's one. He was a model for Calvin Klein. I don't know. Hey, good looking man. I guess you can model for Calvin Klein. Why not? Let's see. He was named the People Magazine's 50 Most Beautiful People. And that's not always about how you look. It's more about, this guy was thinking about being a priest. I think it's more about his attitude, where you're doing something good in the world and that makes you a beautiful person, not so much as how you look. But this guy had the looks. He modeled for Calvin Klein, and he had the attitude. He was going to be a priest. He's out to help people. So, that's just an all around good person right there, I guess. Let's see. 2004, he finally did pursue his movie career. He signed to do the movie Taxi. He left Saturday Night Live. It was not received too well. But a lot of people, the first one don't hit. You get a second chance, okay? He did get a second chance in Fever Pitch, and didn't come out to good reviews. I guess his movie career didn't work as much as he wanted to. He did give it a shot, but he wasn't the only one. I mean, remember what John Lovitz? He left Saturday Night Live to do a movie career. It didn't really turn out for him. Now Will Ferrell, he went out. He pursued a movie career and it did. So some it worked out for, some it didn't. Jimmy Fallon, he fell under the one it didn't. So what do you do then? You got to go back to your roots. Laura Michael urged him, looking for some advice. Say you should try the late night circuit. Taking over for Conan O'Brien. So in 2009, he launched Late Night with Jimmy Fallon, and that premiered mixed reviews, which wasn't, I think that was the show after the Tonight Show or something. If you can't get the prime slot, you get the slot after, which, less of an audience, but hey, you're still on late night TV, right? So that's not a bad thing right there. But even though it got bad reviews, it did gain an audience. He became well known for his music and dancing and his video game routines, which, if you want to draw the younger audience, video games are where it's at, because our generation would have got them. But these kids are into video games so much, if you can, he got the next generation, I guess you could say. And that's what makes a great host, when you can relate to both ages. Okay. And this guy was relatable to everybody. He gained more of a following with his use of social media, which, I mean, Dane Cook was famous for that. He was the first guy that used social media to launch into a mega status. Well, this guy was doing the same thing with his show. I mean, nowadays everybody uses social media, but back then it was a new thing. And to have the genius to use that before it was a big thing, that's what makes you great right there. Hosted the Primetime Emmys in 2010. Then he released a second comedy album, Blow Your Pants Off. And let's see, 2013 Grammy's Best Comedy Album of the Year it was. So ended up winning that Grammy. And how many people can say they won a Grammy? I don't know, probably not too many. But actually, I visited Sam Kinnison's brother Bill's house, and they let me sleep over. And the next day, they pulled out Sam's all his old coats and stuff, and it was like a kid in a candy store, like me visiting Graceland and getting to touch all of this and stuff. Well, I got to touch Sam Kinnison's stuff, and one of the things I got to hold was his Grammy Award. And I thought to myself, how many people have even been in the presence of a Grammy Award? I mean, I get to actually stand there and hold it, so that was cool. Cool moment for me, touching your hero stuff like that. 2013, NBC announced Jimmy Fallon would replace Jay Leno as the host of the Tonight Show. He debuted his first show to 11.3 million viewers, and I guess he was criticized. I guess if you wanted to, well, let's go back. He's debuting for 11.3 million viewers, and I think first thing it was friggin' hilarious because if you know the story, Johnny Carson made Joan Rivers, that was a friend of his from the comedy circuit. He put her on TV, made her into the star she was, and she got an opportunity to do a late night TV show on Fox. And instead of clearing it with Johnny, which I'm guessing he probably would have said it was okay anyway, but she ended up taking it without clearing it with him. And he really felt that was a slap in the face. Never talked to her again, wouldn't let her back on the Tonight Show. Jay Leno took over the Tonight Show. He thought out of respect for Johnny, he wouldn't have Joan Rivers on anyway, because, he wanted to respect the man who held the seat before him. Well, Jimmy Fallon, in his first show out, he showed he was making the Tonight Show his own. He wasn't going to be anybody's puppet or nothing like that. He said, a lot of people bet I wouldn't make it because, hey, everybody was in the run-up to the Tonight Show. Only one person got it. They got to be in the elite club of the six hosts. He's like, one person said I wouldn't get it. You owe me $20. We bet $20. You lost. You know who you are. I'm not mentioning names. You owe me $20. Joan Rivers comes out, slaps $20 on the desk. He had Joan Rivers back on the Tonight Show, showing he was his own man. He wasn't following anybody's footsteps. So, it went good at first. He was criticized for not asking the tough questions. He had Donald Trump on, and he really played nice with Donald instead of asking him the tough questions everybody wanted to hear. He had Hillary Clinton on, he didn't really ask Hillary any tough questions either. So that was one of the criticisms. He was a great host, but if you had anything criticized, that's what it was. But I guess when you're a nice guy, not everybody goes the Howard Stern route. I do find Howard Stern funny, but I don't go that route. I take, things seriously, and, you got a serious thing and you got the funny thing, whatever you want to do, but I take comedy seriously what I do. It's an informational thing I'm trying to do here. Let's see. Other thing you might not have known about Jimmy, he released a line of children's books. Okay, so I guess he's got a lot of children's books out there that you probably did not know about. I know, what is it? One's called what is it? I think it's Goose, something about a goose, where the goose starts out with a frown on the face, and it's a kid's book where you got to work a puzzle kind of thing to make the goose smile again. So you turn the goose from having a frown to having a smile, which is a great message to send to a kid, and that's why it would be a popular kids book right there. So man, what a career by Jimmy Fallon, one of only 6 people to host the Tonight Show, and once you're there, that's the top of the game, man. There's nowhere else to go. I mean, what an elite club to be in, man. Just to have your name mentioned with the Johnny Carsons and the David Lettermans and the Jay Leno's and the Conan O'Briens, and out comes the new generation, the Jimmy Fallons, the Jimmy Kimmels, and hey, next week we'll be doing Stephen Colbert, and we're going to round up the modern day late night circuit with them. And you can catch my old podcast. I've done them, the late nights. I've done the Conan O'Briens, I've done the Jay Leno's, the Carsons, and the Lettermans, and everybody. And yeah, man, it's a cutthroat thing. I'll tell you. I know the older generation, it was a cutthroat thing when Leno took over, and it was a cutthroat thing when Fallon took over, and with the time slots and the Conan going to TBS and everything. I guess, who gave, I guess we'll end it off on who gave Jimmy Fallon his who influenced him to do what he wanted to do. Obviously, Saturday Night Live was his dream, but I guess the comics, that were on Saturday Night Live, where he saw otherwise. I guess he was highly influenced by Steve Martin and Dan Aykroyd in their old Saturday Night Live skit, "Wild We Are, Two Wild and Crazy Guys." I remember that one from when I was a kid. He was really inspired by that skit, and I guess Rodney Dangerfield comedy albums. He's really inspired by those two back when you could actually make a comedy album. And I do. I remember when Eddie Murphy put out an album. I mean, me and my buddy, we both had Trans Ams. It was the muscle car age, and we cruised circles around town. And we have our cassette tapes, and that's what we do. We left the Eddie Murphy cassette, and throughout the rest of the day, every situation turned into a quote from the Eddie Murphy album. We were solving any scenario with a quote from the Eddie Murphy album. So we've lost a great comedy album. We've great comedy specials on Netflix, but we have lost something with the comedy album. I guess I haven't totally lost it. I mean, you can go on if you drive around, you get Sirius, satellite radio, and they do have comedy channels where you can listen to 24-hour the old comedy. But unfortunately, the new comedians, they're not putting out albums; they're just putting out new specials, so you can only listen to the old stuff. But hey, man, Jimmy Fallon, he made it, man. Wasn't big in the movies, but he'll go down in legendary status on the late night comedy circuit. So I guess the lesson there is, if one thing don't work, it didn't work out in movies for him, but another door opened. He went into late night and turned into one of the all-time great late night hosts, and he's very good at what he does, and that's why he's getting recognized. Hey, am I good at what I do? Am I teaching you things you didn't know about Jimmy Fallon? Because that's my job. We're exploring the history of comedy here on Funny.com podcast. I'm Dennis Wirth. Tell your friends, tell your neighbors, tune me in worldwide. And I don't care where you are in the world. You got the internet, you can tune me in, baby. And shout out to my listeners in Japan. If I get any listeners in Japan, shout out to you. I want some Japanese buffalo sauce. I don't know if that even exists, if you got Japanese buffalo sauce. If you do, I want some because I'm into buffalo sauce. Till next time, we'll see you then, folks. Good night.